Hello and welcome to part 14 of the Tim Burton style character. This is David Ward, and when last I left you, we had just created the rest of the clothes, the tie and the shoes, and gotten the laces on there and everything, got all the masking set up, so we can see. So now we're going to jump in and start rigging this guy. But first of all, I'd like to move everything up to where it's above the red line, above the scene center, because when I started, at the default cube, it automatically, just started going down from there. Because that's, the default cube started there, so anything I made below that, as far as the body goes, went down, and everything's a duplicate of that, so that's what happened. Now I'm going to Shift, I guess I need to turn my screencast keys on, Shift A, actually Shift S, and we're going to go cursor to center, and it's going to put the 3D cursor right there at the bottom, so select everything and going to move that right there down onto that line. Okay, now I'm going to select all my lamps and everything and move those to their own layer just to get them out of the way. Move those. I like to put them way over here on the far top right layer right there. So we'll go ahead and just only select this layer. So we'll select all of our model except for the eyeballs. I don't want to select the eyeballs. So let's select the eyeballs, and then we're going to go select inverse, and it'll select everything else. And now what I'm going to do is go Object Transform Origin to 3D Cursor. And right now you see the origin is this orange dot there. That's basically the pivot point of all of our selection. But I want that to be down here at the base, down there on the ground, at the base of his feet. So I'm going to go Object Transform. Well, I say that. I don't want to do that for the shirt and vest and tie. I'll just do that for the head, the pants, and the shoes. Or not the head, but the body, the pants, and the shoes. So we'll go Object Transform Origin to 3D Cursor, and it's going to put the origin right down there, so now it'll rotate around that. As far as the other guys go, I'm going to put the 3D cursor right there in the middle of them, so I'm going to tab into edit mode, select everything, Shift S, and say cursor to selected, and it's going to center the cursor up there on the selection rather than the whatchamacallit, the whole model. My brain's not working. But since we have more buttons there on front, it's kind of making the average distance right there towards the front, so I want to go ahead and put that more towards the middle. Actually, just kind of put it up there between the shoulders, right there, and that'll work. So now I'll go Object, oops, well, where'd it go? I clicked on there by accident, so let's go ahead and do that again. Shift S, cursor to selected, side view, about right up there, tab out. Okay, so now actually I'm going to shift select the shirt and the tie and do the same thing. Object, Transform, Origin to 3D Cursor. So now all three of those are rotating right there. So anyways, let's go ahead and pop our 3D cursor back to the center. Shift S, cursor to center. And now we're going to enable a plugin called the Rigify modifier, or not really a modifier, it's a Rigify plugin that creates a very, very detailed rig very quickly. So the way we do that, we go to File, User Preferences, and then go to Add-ons, and you can either do a search for it, Rigify, in here, or you just come down here to Rigging, right there, and scroll back up here, and you see Rigify. Go ahead and check that box, X that out, and now we're going to go Shift-A, go down to Armature, and before we turned on the Rigify modifier, you could only see single bone in here, but now that we've enabled it, you can see the human meta rig now. So we'll go ahead and click that. And it makes it really small, so we need to tab into edit mode, and if we were just to scale it now, it would just scale it at its center point. So let's hit the period button, and it'll scale it from the 3D cursor, which is, we centered it up in the scene. So let's go ahead and just scale that up, go to our wireframe view so we can see it a little better, get that lined up about shoulder-wise, and that should be pretty good. There we go. So we'll tab, hit Z to come back into solid view, and let's go ahead and turn on X-ray right here. And I also want to go to the object settings here and turn textured to wire. It'll be a little bit easier to navigate around the scene and see it there according to our model. So I want to go ahead and tab into edit mode there and get rid of this half of the model, because we're going to modify this half and get it set up the way it needs to be, and then we'll just duplicate it over to this side, and it'll save. I don't know that it'll save time, but it'll just be easier, because sometimes like if you try to select something like this, well, of course it's not doing it now, but if I say selected that, you know, in any case, sometimes it selects some over here for some reason. But in any case, I'll just go ahead and get rid of this half for now, and then we'll set up this side the way it needs to be set, and we'll copy it over. So first things first, let's go ahead and set up the hand. I don't know if that's the first thing first or not, but but we'll do that. Let's go ahead and Control comma rotate around the selection now rather than the 3D cursor, which pops around wherever you click by accident. So let's go ahead and put this, get this guy together, and I'm going to go ahead and grab this shoulder bone. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Don't need that because our torso is basically going to be pretty stiff. It's not going to flex at all. So also we have 3 fingers instead of 4, you know, one thumb. So let's go ahead and get rid of this guy. Go delete that, and then let's select this whole hand and that, and move this over. Start getting this set up to, you know, align with the model. Let's go ahead and move this back here. Okay, and let's, according to the top view, let's go ahead and get this set up, and then we'll go to the front view to get it set up vertically. So just get this stretched out the way it needs to go. Each one of these joints needs to go on a knuckle. I know the middle knuckles are not that visible because we didn't really design our model that way, but we can kind of guesstimate there. Okay, and then the thumb. Okay, so now let's go to our front view, and we can see that, well, that's way off. So let's select the hand part, move that down, and then we know that these are lined up horizontally exactly where they need to go. So when we line these up vertically, we're just going to get the tip of each one of these bones and just move it on the Z-axis. So just move it, just grab that, hit G, and then Z to move it up on the Z-axis, and just line it up there on the fingers. I know you can't see the middle finger right now, but it's pretty well lined up with the index finger there, so it's should be good to go. Now we'll hit Control 1 to go to our back view and get the pinky lined up. Okay, and let's move that pinky joint a little further back there on the tip. Let's move that back to about right there. There we go. Maybe move this one down too. Okay, I think that, well, we need to get the thumb now. So let's go to our front view for the thumb. Go and move that down. Move this down. Now the thumb's a little different because it's actually rotated a little bit to start with. So we might have to rotate these bones a little bit. Let's actually do that. Let's go to our object data for the rig there and turn on B bones instead of the octahedral. Okay, let's select everything, Alt-S, actually Control-Alt-S, and scale that down a little skinnier. And then we'll go ahead and turn on the axes so we can see which direction each bone is rolling. And you can see that all the fingers are pointing, the Z index is pointing down, but on the thumb, it's pretty close. But we want it to be even, so let's grab each one of these. Oops. Grab each one of those and Control R and rotate it around to where it's lined up with its predecessor there. So okay, so we can go back to octahedral now. Go ahead and turn axes back off, and let's get the rest of the guy set up. Go to our side view here, get the neck set up. The base of the neck, the top of the chest and the base of the neck is going to be right there. We'll grab that, move that up, and then the head rotate. A lot of people I've seen, like even in video games, and it doesn't look very realistic once, you know, they just put the rotation of the head there at the top of the neck. But if you notice, the head rotates at the base of the skull rather than, you know, just the top of the flesh of the neck. So it'd be more up around this area. So anyways, so there we go. And due to the construction of Tim here, if we leave too many joints here in the midsection, these buttons aren't going to play nicely. They'll deform and it'll just be ugly. So what we're going to do is go ahead and get rid of these two different joints here. Go ahead and delete that, and then we'll put our 3D cursor right there on the top of the hip, Shift S, and say cursor to selected, then grab this guy, Shift S, and say selection to cursor. Oops. What did I put the cursor way down there for? Cursor to selected. There we go. It's odd. Must have said to center on accident. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Now we'll say selection to cursor. There we go. And make sure that this bone here is parented to this hip bone. So we'll go ahead and connect it. Okay. So now let's work on getting the legs set up. There we go. Go to our front view. Get that knee brought up to where it needs to go. About right there. And then select the whole foot area, foot section there. Go ahead and move that over, and then we'll need to rotate it a little bit, about like so, maybe a little less. There we go. Let's go to our side view, and let's go ahead and scale that up to where it fits. This is the toe bone area, and this is the foot, and then this will be like when the foot lands on its heel. This will be the point that it lands. So let's move that up to about right there, and then move this back a little bit. Move this back a little bit. This up a little bit more. And now we need to move the hips up a little bit. There we go. Maybe the base of the spine down some. And I think we're good to go. Now another beautiful thing about this Rigify is that all these bones, once you create them, they're already named what they need to be named. So if we scroll over here, you can see that's already named upper arm.L, forearm.L, thumb 1, and then thumb 2 and 3, and thigh. They're all named already, so that saves a lot of time rather than if you went in and built your own rig. So let's select this whole side now, and our 3D cursor should still be centered up. Yes. We'll go ahead and hit the period button to rotate around it. Shift D to duplicate these bones we have selected, and then we're going to scale on the x-axis -1 times. Now you can do it like that, or you can go to Armature Mirror X Global, and it'll do the same thing. See, I just mirrored it back, so we'll just do that. So go ahead and escape out there, Armature, and okay, since I right-clicked out before instead of left-clicking it, it canceled it out. So if you wanted to keep it, go click on there and then left-click, but since I right-clicked, it canceled. Anyways, we got that mirrored over. We're going to Armature Flip Names, and it's going to take, instead of, let me undo that again. So see, right now we duplicated it, so it gave it like the one selected right now is shin.l.001, and all of these are going to be .l.001, but since there's a quick little thing we can do, flip names, and it changes them all to .r instead. Now, even though we perfectly mirrored each one of these bones, a lot of times they get twisted out of the way they're supposed to. For example, you can see it obviously right here on the forearm. This one's straight, but this one's kind of rolled a little bit. We don't want that, so let's go ahead and select the inverse, the originals, and come down here and make sure x-axis mirror is checked. And now we're going to hit Control R, and then go ahead and just left click, and it'll automatically rotate those to match the ones on the right. Okay, so we got our rig set up. Now we want to, like I said, do the Rigify part that makes a very, very detailed rig very fast. And the only thing we got to do now is let's go ahead and put our rig here, this default rig, the what would you call this? The base rig, I guess. Let's put that way over here on its own layer, and we'll go ahead and turn that layer on. And like I said, the only thing we got to do to turn on the Rigify modifier now, or not modifier, but plugin, is just go ahead and hit the space bar and type it in, Rigify, and it's the top one, Rigify Generate Rig. I'll go ahead and click that. Take a couple seconds, and boom, it creates this rig with all of these bone shapes and everything. Very handy. Also has a lot of tools down here that you can turn on and off for the layers. But let's go ahead and put that on its own layer. I like to put my rig on the first layer on the left, there on the bottom. So let's go ahead and hit M and go ahead and put it down there. And now we'll go ahead and turn that layer off. You could go, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and delete this now. I'll go ahead and leave it there. But anyways, so now we have this rig. If we go to, well, click on it, there we go, pose mode. We can see that this is the main controller, and then this will be like for the hips and below, and this will be for the chest and everything. Obviously, we haven't applied our model to it yet, so of course it's not gonna follow along. But let's go ahead and apply Tim himself without the clothes. So let's go ahead and let's pop this back to object mode so I don't keep selecting parts of it. Go ahead and select all the clothing items and go ahead and hide those, the pants and the shoes. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and grab Tim and go to our modifiers, and let's go ahead and turn the mask off for now. And we want to turn that camera on so it does render when we go to render. But now we have him selected. We're going to shift select that rig and control P and go with automatic weights. And it's going to automatically give vertex weighted groups for each one of these control bones. So if we go back to pose mode, there we go. You can see that now, if I grab this head controller and I rotate it around, it moves the head now. Now there are some tweaks we need to do. It's not just a plug and play. I mean, more or less is, but you do need to tweak it a little bit. So before we start tweaking, let's go ahead and knock this armature modifier over here up to the very top, so it controls everything. If you leave it below, well, let me go ahead and show you. If you leave it below, at the bottom of the stack, and say you have your hair turned on, since the armature modifier is below the hair, it's not going to follow along. So you have to put the armature at the very top, so it controls everything. Okay. So let's go ahead and turn the hair off, and let's go ahead and turn subsurf off, the subdivision surface modifier, so we can navigate a little better. Okay, now the bones you see here are purely the controller bones. The actual bones that are controlling the mesh and the way it moves are on a different layer. So we got to go to our object data, and the controller bones, the deform bones as they're called, are on this layer right here. But we can't see them because they're inside the mesh. So let's go ahead and turn on X-ray. It'll be just like we did on the default mesh that we were playing with earlier. Okay, so the first thing I want to fix is the head. So we'll go to weight paint mode and just right click there on the head, and you can see everything that's red is definitely being controlled 100% by this bone. But as it fades out towards blue, it gets less control over it. So what I want to do, quick easy way, you could try painting it on there like this, but you're going to miss some, inside the nooks and crannies, you might miss a few vertices here and there. So the easiest way to do this is just tab into edit mode and just manually select all of the vertices on the head, and let's deselect here at the top of the neck. And we already have that vertex group selected from when we right clicked on it in weight paint mode, so we're just going to go ahead and assign, and it's assigning a weight of 1.0, which is 100%. So now when we tab back into weight paint mode, you can see that everything on the head is applied to that head bone. So if I come out of weight paint mode and grab the rig and go ahead and turn that layer back on, the head control layer, you can see now the teeth and everything are behaving. The eyeballs, however, are not. So let's go ahead and grab those guys. Okay, and we'll shift select that. No, actually, don't do that. We're not going to parent them to this head controller because if we tab into edit mode, you can see its base is right here. Whereas if we turn on the actual head bone, its base is right there. So anytime it rotates, the eyes are going to be all crazy. So we'll tab back out, go ahead and select our eyes, then shift select the actual deforming head bone and control P. But this time we're not going to say with automatic weights, we're going to say to the bone, just the bone. So now when we rotate around, you can see the eyes follow. And it looks like they're coming out a little bit. Let's see what's going on with that. Okay, probably looks like the head might have some issues with some of these vertices. Also, probably the neck. Let's go ahead and go to weight paint mode. Select the head, good, and then see, the neck is still controlling some of that. So let's tab back into edit mode. We still have that head selected. We will go to the object data, and the deform neck vertex group is selected. We're going to say remove all these vertices from that neck vertex group. And now everything is working the way it should. Okay, so let's go ahead and Alt-R, clear out that rotation. See it a little better now. And everything else should be pretty well set up. Let's come out of paint mode, weight paint mode, and let's go ahead and go to our, actually grab one of your bones there. Go ahead and turn that layer off. And now we can just rely here on the rig layers that are here in the properties panel. So I want to go and turn on torso. And the difference between the arms.lfk and the arms.lik is this one is forward kinematics and this was inverse kinematics. Now what that means is forward kinematics is basically you select each bone and you move it like so. If you wanted to move the whole arm, you'd have to select, well, you could turn automatic, where is it at? Auto IK, and that would, and then grab part of it and move it around. But there's something already built for that, and that's called inverse kinematics. And we turn that on. We can say FK IK hand. Go ahead and turn that to IK, which is going to be this controller here. And we go and turn that layer off. Then you can just move it around normally. You don't even need the IK anymore. I typically build all my models with inverse kinematics, but that's just my personal preference. Let me go ahead and control comma so I'm not rotating around the 3D cursor anymore. And let's just kind of put him in a little pose here. We can turn on the fingers as well. Now the way the fingers work are instead of you actually curling each joint, you just grab one of these controllers and scale it, and it'll automatically rotate your finger down. And then you can rotate these to, you know, if you wanted to make a fist, you'd scale them all the way, not all the way down, but almost. And then you could rotate these in like so. And then if you wanted the hand to curl around, grab this guy and move that up and down. And it'll, well, if I can move it down, there we go. You can kind of curl that around and then maybe move these guys in a little bit. Since we don't have the subsurf turned on, this is looking kind of bad, but let me just select all those and clear out their scale and rotation there. And we'll go ahead and get it down to a more nice limp hand type of look there. And maybe let's rotate that in there a little bit. Okay, so that's a decent look. And let's go ahead and select all of this hand here. And actually we need to select this hand over here and go ahead and slide that all the way up too. And now we'll select all this and come down here to the bottom of your screen and hit that up arrow, and it's going to the clipboard, so that's copying. And then if we just hit this one next to it, it's just going to paste it directly to that. But if we hit this one, it's going to paste it to the opposite side. So there we go. And that's the reason we had to roll those bones back once we copied them over and they had twisted a little bit. We rotate them back so they're perfectly lined up with these, just so you can do that. So you can, you know, make symmetrical poses, like say, like, I don't know, you want to have both hands up there, just go copy and paste, and then, there you go. So let me go ahead and undo that. I prefer them down at the side. So there we go. Okay, and his head's good. And if we were to turn on his legs, go and select this, and the same thing here, IK, and then IK, and then you can move that, and then if he squats down, the feet stay put. And these guys here are the elbow controllers. So just for an example, if he bends down like this too far, we need the elbows to rotate a little bit differently. You just do it like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear out that, and let's go ahead and clear these out. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and turn the clothes back on and get those set up. We're gonna you have to grab part of the model now, Alt-H, and there we go. And then grab, say, the shirt, grab part of the rig, Control-P with automatic weights. Same thing on everything else. Get the tie too, and then the pants, and finally the shoes. If we can grab those, there we go. Okay, now there's going to be some issues with the vest or the shirt coming through the vest, and we need to adjust the the weight groups there on that chest bone. So let's go ahead and go back to our deform layer, and we'll go ahead and select the shirt, and let's go. Actually, before we do anything else, I can see discrepancy in our mask. So let's tab into edit mode, and tell you what, let's go to our modifiers panel and go ahead and turn our mask view on in edit mode so we can see exactly what's going on. So we need to tell these vertices here in the front, those are invisible right now, we need to go ahead and take them off of that vest mask. So go ahead and remove those, and you can see that fills back in. Okay, so now let's go ahead and select all of the faces on the collar. That's the big deal, because if we were to rotate the head around, the collar is now following part of the neck. So let me go ahead and select 2 faces on there, so it selects all that, and we'll just go to vertex select mode and go ahead and turn it and remove it from the deform head, and then scroll down here till you find deform neck right there. Okay, go ahead and remove it from that as well. And now we'll go ahead and jump into weight paint. You can see now it's okay, since we removed both of those vertex groups from the collar, it's now basically not parented to anything. So let's go ahead and tab back in. Actually, let's select this main piece here, tab back in, and then since it's already selected there, we can assign and then come out, and there we go. Okay, and essentially the whole vest needs to be assigned to this bone. So let's just go ahead and hit Control, or just hit A twice. Actually, okay, I'm not in the vest, I'm in the shirt right now. Oi, confusing myself. Okay, so let's select everything here on the torso part of the shirt, and we'll tab out. Actually, sorry if I'm confusing you. I'm confusing myself. Go ahead and assign those vertices to the deform ribs. There we go. And we need to tell the shoulders of the shirt not to follow this bone here. So go ahead and select that bone, and we'll come up here. Actually, make sure our X mirror is turned on. Okay, it is good. And we'll go to subtract, and let's just brush over the shoulder. Go ahead and set the strength up a little higher. Maybe even higher. Maybe the braid is a little bit bigger too. And get all of that shoulder off of the arm. Okay, so that's gonna probably be good for the shirt. Let's go ahead and hop out of weight paint mode, back to object mode. Now we'll select the vest, tab in edit mode, select everything, and go ahead and select that deform ribs. I see it right there. Go ahead and assign. We'll tab out, and now the same thing's going on with the vest as with the shoulders of the shirt. Part of it is being controlled by the upper arm there. So let's go ahead and go back to weight paint, and as you can see right there, obviously, and we'll just go ahead and subtract paint over that, all over it. There we go. Okay, now I can still see a little bit of the shirt coming through, or actually I guess that's Tim himself. I guess I need to turn that mask back on, don't I? There we go. Okay, so now the shirt's behaving a little bit better with the vest. See a little bit over here, so let's go ahead and select the shirt and back to weight paint. I think maybe some of the neck is, yeah, so let's go ahead and subtract that off as well. And then make sure. Let's go ahead and add now. We'll go ahead and add. And here, and should be good there. Subtract out a little bit more. Okay, now we'll go ahead and if you go ahead and just right click on the vest, it'll select it, and we go to weight paint, and okay, for some reason the X mirror is not. I guess you have to turn that on each object that you modify. So go ahead and turn that on. Subtract is still selected. Now when we paint over that, more issues arise. Okay, now we'll just get that off of there. For some reason it didn't mirror that one either. Okay, sorry about the time running out. I didn't really want to turn this into 2 lessons. So let's just call that done. Let's go and see what the tie is doing. Probably needs to be 100% on there. Good. For the most part it is. Has a little bit on the neck too, so let's go ahead and select everything and come to our vertex group and say remove everything. And then the problem with adding one little piece to a whole rig is that you get all of these extra vertex groups that are empty. So you can either just go through and delete them one by one, but be careful careful that you don't accidentally delete one that you need. But that'll clear that up. So anyways, the tie's good. I think the pants are probably fine. Shoes might need some work. Go to weight paint. Okay, is the deform foot? I guess I need to. Are the shoes being moved at all? Let's go ahead and. Okay, they are, but not very well. So I guess we need to tell the shoe to behave. Let's select that. Go to weight paint view. And we need to come back out, grab our rig, and go to grab that bone there. Now we can do it. All right. Weight paint. Make sure our X mirror is turned on over here. Good, it is. Now we can just paint. And I think we still have subtract. Yes. Let's just tab in here and select this whole shoe and go ahead and assign that not to foot roll. Go ahead and get that out and that one out. Foot, there we go, foot.l. Go ahead and assign that. There we go. And we need to tell the toe of it to deform with the toe. So let's go ahead and select the toe area and I can find that toe.l. Actually, I guess what we can do is just right click on there and it'll select it automatically there. Go ahead and assign. And there we go. Now, when you just apply the vertex selection to that bone group, it doesn't automatically mirror it, so we need to do the same thing on this side. Go ahead and select that bone, tab into edit mode, select everything, assign foot right there, and we'll go ahead and select just the toes. On there, go ahead and tab back in and assign there. Okay, so I think everything should be good to go now. Go ahead and turn that layer off, or select that layer, and let's go ahead and turn on the leg there. Okay, yeah, so everything looks like it's deforming the way it should. Yes. Okay, so now we have Tim all rigged up, so he can do pretty much anything we want with his body language. But there's the problem, it's just his body. So, wow, this one ran 33 minutes. Apologize for that. Let me go ahead and tell you in part 15 we'll go ahead and start setting up some facial expressions, shape keys, and then probably the next part after that we'll get into some controllers. Some shape key drivers to control his facial expression. So, again, sorry if this took so long. Go ahead and save this, part 14. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you in part 15.